Hi, this is Karen Rowland, founder of Hush Providence. Welcome to my new weekly Wellbeing podcast, Real People, Real Conversations, Real Life. We'll be talking about all things relating to the human experience. What makes up a life? What creates joy and happiness? What makes humans the same or different? How do we care for ourselves and each other? We'll even try to answer the 5 W's of well-being: who, what, when, where, and why, and how this all fits together. A little ambitious? Maybe, but join us as we connect with local topic experts, peers, mentors, and healers. Welcome to Hush Providence, a well-being podcast. I'm excited to introduce Amy Schenck to today's episode. Welcome, Amy.
Hi. Hello.
So Amy is the founder of Ocean State Reiki. She's a registered nurse, integrative therapy nurse at Miriam Hospital, a board-certified holistic nurse, Usui Reiki master teacher and Shamanic Reiki master, a member of Hush Providence, and a member of Thrive Tribe Collaborative. Let's begin, and you can share your career journey with us and talk about holistic nursing and why that's a important, critical element of care.
Yeah. Before I start, I just want to say thank you for doing this. It's definitely so important. And also thank you for, the events that you have put together for the community. It's just been meaningful to be able to participate in a couple of them. And I just want to make sure I thank you for all of that because it's really great.
Thank you.
First I'll kind of like define holistic nursing and then talk about a little bit about my journey. So holistic nursing is actually, it's a specialty certification through the American Holistic Nurses Association. And it's really something that any nurse can become certified in, like whatever area you work in. It's just kind of gives you like an additional layer of the care that you're providing, so you don't by any means have to do special nursing to become certified in holistic nursing, but it primarily obviously focuses on caring for the person as a whole, so not just their physical body but their their mental, emotional, spiritual, cultural, environmental, all of those aspects. And also a big component is that everything within the person is interconnected. And then, all humans are interconnected with each other, with their environment, with, nature, with the earth. So, nothing is like when you have something going on, it's never just that. And the other part of holistic nursing is that sometimes people think it might just be that you're only using these like alternative or complementary or more like natural therapies, but it really is more of like a least harm approach. So we would never say that if someone needed more like a Western modern intervention like that, they should ever not have that. It's really just whatever is the least harm to kind of start out with. And then if you do, need, we all need medications at times, sometimes surgery. It's really important to then like continue to integrate the like more natural approaches because they will help you with your outcomes. Like being able to decrease side effects if you are taking medications, and just have like if you had to go in for a surgery, there's been research that with like orthopedic surgeries, if you're receiving Reiki, your pain is decreased. You might need less pain medications, and you could go home sooner. So it's really just kind of like incorporating all of that with like the kind of like the least harm mentality. So as far as how I started on this journey, I feel like it's just really been kind of like why I came here, why I came into this lifetime, I feel like I was born with just like this spark of curiosity as far as like energy and spirituality. And I always felt like things were just more than meets the eye. And I I always had like a very heightened sensitivity to my environment and to other people, and really like I came here kind of with like a caregiver, that nurturing personality. And so um I also, both of my parents, basically my whole life practiced transcendental meditation. And my father especially was like just extremely spiritual. He was a very special person. He was very unassuming, but he had like, it was so rare. He had like no ego, and people just loved being around him. And so I really kind of was like nurtured with that my whole life. Just, the like we're one, and we're all love. And so I eventually, like fun fact, I actually, the first time I went to college, I actually majored in theater. So that was my first degree. And then I got this kind of like calling where I felt like I wanted to do something where I was helping people. Like I was just kind of like had this strong pull, and I came across holistic nursing. So it was really like first and foremost, like I was focused on the holistic nursing. And as I looked into that more, I was like, okay, well, what do I have to do? And like obviously go to school to become a registered nurse. So I was like, okay, I'm going to nursing school. So I applied and I did that. And the to get the certification, you do have to work as a nurse for, I think it was at least a year. And so I started out in, like as a clinical nurse, first on a cardiac floor, kind of like a medical surgical floor, and then in a ICU step down for a little while. And it really did help because I was like, wow, like, oh my, like people need more. Like people are struggling, like both the patients and the staff. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely on the right path. Like I have to kind of like help. And so I then went through the process of getting the certification. And it's really just been a journey of building all different like certifications and things since then. That was in 2016 that I first was certified. And I really feel like I completely feel like I'm living my purpose. Like I don't for one second, I feel very blessed. I don't ever doubt that I'm not fully living in my purpose. And I feel so thankful for that. And yeah, now it's all I do.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. On LinkedIn, you mentioned the Heal the Healers program for healthcare workers. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, both my parents had always done transcendental meditation, and that is basically they call it just like a simple mental technique that anybody can do, and you do it twice a day for 20 minutes. And I actually ended up learning in 2009, right before I went to nursing school. I don't think I could have done this without it. It's super powerful. And so with transcendental meditation, there is a fee for learning because you do go to a certified teacher. And there is a gentleman, his name is David Lynch. He's actually a Hollywood guy, like a producer. You may have heard of like Twin Peaks,
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive,
Mhm.
kind of like that, I don't know, like avant-garde. And so he was like so TM was just so powerful for him that he decided to start a foundation, the David Lynch Foundation, and have this huge like philanthropic effort to bring TM to different groups that really needed it. And so some of those groups have been like really struggling school systems, school systems that have a lot of like violence, and also prisons. And so during the pandemic, it was recognized, obviously, that healthcare workers were very much in need of transcendental meditation. It actually is very researched. There's over 300 scientific articles published, showing the benefits, which are, I mean, there's like so many you could list, just, mainly like decreased anxiety, depression, insomnia, PTSD, increased resilience, decreased burnout. It's actually recognized by the American Heart Association because of all the research on, just helping with like cardiac risks. So the David Lynch Foundation put forth Heal the Healers Now, which is the effort to bring transcendental meditation into bedside, healthcare. And I knew the TM teacher, Marcia, here in Providence, because she was very good friends with my dad, and we were kind of talking, and through, turn of events, we were able to bring that to the Miriam through the Integrative Therapy department, which is the department I work in now. And it was just so powerful for a lot of people. The main focus at first was just primarily bedside nurses that have been working during the pandemic. And it just, so many people learned, and they found it so beneficial that it's just through the help of other people that have kind of like, gained other grant money and kind of just like really stepped forward to kind of like build this program. It's now like one of our core components of the culture of wellness. And it's amazing. It's helped so many people.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And congratulations. I know that you recently attended and presented at the ANCC, the American Nurses Credentialing Center National Magnet Conference for Nursing in Chicago a few weeks ago. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was, I would say, one of the most amazing experiences of my life thus far. It was so wonderful. I just felt so honored. So the magnet, it was the magnet conference, and the magnet is basically a designation for excellence in nursing. And the Miriam Hospital is a 6-time magnet designated hospital, and sailing towards the 7th. There's only one other hospital in the country that has 7 designations. So it's like in Little Rhodey here, we have this amazing gem. It's it's a major honor. And basically the magnet designation is, I would say in my own words, it really is just a huge amount of encouragement for nurses to be able to grow in their education. And nurses are very empowered in their practice. So there's a ton of opportunities for specialty certifications, research. So nurses generally are able to feel more confident in their practice. And so obviously the patient is, having a nurse look after them that is going to, is more confident, more empowered. They know that they can advocate for the patient like as much as they need to. And so the conference in Chicago was, it was basically an international conference. There was 13,000 people there, which coming from Rhode Island is like, no matter how much you prepare yourself, it's like, whoa, it was crazy. But it was a ton of fun. And myself and I had a co-presenter, Elizabeth LePage, that also was a nurse with me at the hospital. And we did a 1-hour presentation about the peer support program at Miriam, which essentially was to, help other hospitals that would want to build a similar program. We kind of like talked about our journey. And also, there were some hospitals that had a program already, and it was an opportunity to kind of like look at other people's ideas. Um, but the peer support program is really special. It's basically staff members that are trained to support peers, ideally as close as can be, like a nurse with a nurse. And but it's not just nurses, we have everybody, so secretary, nurses aide, and it's basically just if somebody's having a hard time, it's an opportunity to just like be present with them. And we kind of like in our presentation we use the it's a Zulu tradition, which is from South Africa, the word Sawubona, which means I see you, I am here. And so, that's kind of what peer support is in a nutshell. Like, we're by no means like therapists, but we're just allowing somebody to know that somebody else is present with them and holding space with them. And then really our training kind of, it went all the way up to like, more critical incidents where like a larger debriefing would be necessary. So yeah, we presented on that, and it was awesome. It was great. I felt like so proud of myself to be able to do that. It was probably a couple hundred people in our presentation, and yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
beautiful. It's a
you.
beautiful program for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And now a shout out to our sponsor, the Good Seed Market, 138 Central Avenue, Schenck, Massachusetts. Started in 1989 by three friends with a goal of creating a neighborhood market offering simple, natural, organic products for a healthy lifestyle. Now a member of the independent Natural Foods Retailer Association, our friends at the Good Seed are offering our listeners a 10% discount on their first purchase just by mentioning Hush Providence. The Good Seed Market, a place where ideas can grow. Changing gears a little bit, I want to talk about Ocean State Reiki and what that story looks like for you, and what is Reiki in your own words?
Reiki in my own words. Okay. So, well, basically Ocean State Reiki is kind of uh it's hard to explain. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about my father more, but it was really something that through the difficulty of processing him passing away, uh I kind of like opened up, like somehow, almost like miraculously. Like, I feel like my dad, like on the other side, was like, "Here, I'm going to help you along." And I just had this like knowing that I needed to do this, like spread this, the different things that I do, the Reiki and the cacao ceremonies. And it really, like, I feel like came to me from something larger than me. I was just like, okay, I have to do this. Um, and so, okay, so Reiki in my own words, I really love the word remember, like when it comes to Reiki, because um, like the technical definition of Reiki is the practitioner is really kind of just like a clear channel, or like a hollow reed, allowing this universal life force energy to come through, um, to be used for healing. And I I feel like what that accomplishes ultimately is really um, remembering, because we like, I feel like right now there's this, like, we think of, if we need to feel better, it comes from something external. Like, if you have a sinus infection, you take an antibiotic. You need that antibiotic. You're like powerless without it. Um, and what the Reiki really does is, it's almost like, if you think of the person is kind of like a diamond, like that's like our pure essence. Like, before the stresses of life just kind of like accumulate, and it happens to everybody. It's like, that's life, that's being here on earth. And so um it's almost like the Reiki just kind of like takes whatever like dust or dirt is like on the diamond and just kind of like cleans it off, like cleanses it. And then you like feel that you're like, oh, I'm a diamond again. And it feels so good. And people sometimes I remind them like, this is you. Like this isn't Reiki isn't an external thing like a pill or an antibiotic. Like this is you. You feel so good because that's who you are. And so it's very empowering for people. It's kind of magical.
And you also teach, so you have different level 1 certifications that you do with people. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
I do teach Reiki. That was another thing that I feel like my dad helped me with after he had passed away. So I love the the idea of like the Reiki. Like, it's all beautiful, but like the Reiki level 1 is really a cool class. It's basically your the whole like focus is really on practice, and so you're becoming um basically this universal life force energy is really it's really everywhere, and it's available to everybody. It's not like something that only certain people have access to or know how to use. But in a Reiki class, you receive what's called an attunement, and it's just kind of like an activation so that you can kind of have like an increased flow of this energy that you can learn how to work with. And so the Reiki 1 class is really just about getting used to that flow and like experiencing it and kind of like navigating it. Um, Becoming like friends with it almost. And a lot of people are, I find, like surprised when they learn that in Reiki 1 you can do self Reiki. So it's not necessarily something that you have to take because you're called to use it for other people, but it can be a practice just to help yourself. Like if you're, a lot of people are like, I can't meditate, but you can do the Reiki. It's so simple. And but you can also practice on friends and family, loved ones, pets. And then if you did want to move on, like Reiki level 2, you're technically allowed to, like if you were someone that wanted to start a practice, you could do that, but you don't even have to. You can take all levels of Reiki just to better yourself and feel better for yourself.
How
So
many levels are there?
well, the lineages they're called can be a little bit different, but in mine there's 4. There's 1 and then 2, and then 3 is called Reiki Master, and then the 4th would be the teacher level. But it can be a little different.
So for Ocean State Reiki, do you want to talk any about your recurring events or any upcoming events that you might have?
Sure. So I work a lot with ceremonial cacao, and I usually do at least one kind of like cacao event every month, at least one, sometimes more than one. And a lot of times I will collaborate with other people doing other modalities that work well with the cacao. And in December 10th, I'm doing an event at Soul Sanctuary in Coventry that is combining it's cacao with sound healing and Reiki. And then I don't have anything else scheduled, but I'm definitely in the process for 2024 of I'll have some more classes and definitely some more events, hopefully something like for the new year. Um,
And how can people connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
so my website is www dot and it's ocean state reiki.com. And I'm actually in the process of upgrading that. So it's temporarily down. However, it will be done soon. But you can always like everything is also on my Facebook, which is just Ocean State Reiki, and then my Instagram, which is AMY_ELIZ_RN. So it's
Awesome.
everything's on there too.
And you mentioned, the passing of your dad a few years ago. Um, and your path to healing. Any other thoughts that you want to share on managing grief and anxiety?
I mean, that is such a huge topic. Um, I feel like the modalities that I work with have been hugely beneficial for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about them. Like, I really, the Reiki just helped me through this. Also working with the cacao, they both, along with a lot of other things, the TM too. I can't forget that. They both really helped me to be able to feel like after he passed away, he wasn't gone, like to like open up my like understanding of spirituality. However, that resonates with, like it resonates differently for everybody, but I just I literally don't ever for 1 second doubt that he isn't still with me. It's not something that I question ever. It's just a complete fact. And I know that working with, all of these things are what helped me to be able to have that understanding. I have this quote I wanted to read. Um, It's from a book called The Smell of Rain on Dust. I read this at the fundraiser we did. I just love this. It's The Smell of Rain on Dust by Martine Prechel, and it says, "Grief expressed out loud, whether in or out of character, unchoreographed and honest, for someone we have lost, or a country or a home we have lost, is in itself the greatest praise we could ever give them. Grief is praise, because it is the natural the natural way love honors what it misses." And I that that whole book was so helpful for me to recognize that when someone passes, like honoring them is so powerful. Like just for one little example, my dad regularly went to Coastal Roasters in Tiverton, and then he would take like a long ride out to Seconic Point in Little Compton. And
Mm,
so like that recognizing that I didn't have to see that as painful and avoid it, but now I do that like once a week myself just to like honor him. And I feel like the more we can honor people and like move through the grief, like do things that they used to love and like do, recognize them, do ceremonies for them. It's so important.
I love that, especially this time of year, moving into the holiday
Yeah.
season, which is kind of a trigger sometimes for people. So that's a great way. It's a great message to share.
Yes,
So thank you for
definitely.
that.
Thank you.
And I know you're in the business of taking care of everyone, and I know that you're doing all this work to take care of yourself. Is there anything else you're doing that you can share to take care of yourself from a
Uh,
well-being point of view?
So I mentioned obviously the transcendental meditation. I do that every day, and I don't think I would be where I am without it. Um, I go to a chiropractor who is also an energy worker. So he's also a Reiki teacher. I feel like Reiki is super important. It just like really fills you back up. And then I go to a massage therapist that also gives Reiki. So I try to do those like once a month, like one of each once a month. But one of the biggest things for me being so working so closely with people and their emotions and their energy is just setting aside a block of time, ideally a whole day if possible, where um I just kind of spend time on my own and like I'm disconnected and like somewhere in nature, even if it's just like I said, going for a ride in Little Compton, um putting on some quiet music and just like being in my own bubble. That's one of the best things I can do.
Awesome. If you were writing an autobiography, what would this chapter in your life be called?
So I definitely this chapter would be called Heart Wide Open,
Mm,
because I say that all the time. I just feel like, the grief really ended up like on the other end. I've learned so much. I feel like I just am so connected to other people. I feel so thankful all the time. And I truly just feel like my heart is more open than it has ever been. So
Beautiful. And I know to sort of wrap things up, there's a reading that you'd like to share. So I'm going to just give you the space to do that now.
yes, okay, thank you. So this book, it's called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, and this is one of the best books I've ever read. And my dad, when I was a teenager, I was like, oh, what do you want me to get you for Christmas? And he asked for this book. And of course, I was just like, all right, here you go. And he read it like every night before he went to sleep. And so after he passed away, I saw it on his bedside table and I was like, oh, I got to pick this up. And I feel like it's so full of messages. Like anytime I need something, I'm like, let me just look in this book. So, there's a couple pages that I feel like, especially like we mentioned going into the holidays and feeling like missing the people that aren't with us. I feel like these pages are so important to kind of like, I feel like for me, it helps understand that they're really not gone. So it does say, it mentioned God, and I just say like, kind of like, let that resonate. However, whatever that means to you. It could be, it could be nature. It could just be like an energy, however that resonates. And also, when I read from things like this, I recommend if people want to like close their eyes and just kind of like take it in almost like as a meditation. So it begins, there is no death. A Course in Miracles says that birth is not a beginning, but a continuation, and death is not an end, but a continuation. Life goes on forever. It always was and always will be. Physical incarnation is just one form that life can take. A Course in Miracles mentions the great rays, a concept also found in other metaphysical teachings. The great rays are lines of energy that emanate from within each of us on subtler levels than our physical senses yet perceive. Our physical senses reflect our current belief system, and as our belief system expands, so will our senses. There will come a time when we physically perceive the great rays. These lines of light and energy are life force energy. The body is merely a temporary encasement. Because we do not yet realize this, we think that the death of the body is the death of the person. It is not. There was a time when people thought that the earth was flat, and so ships that reached the horizon were believed to have fallen off the face of the earth. There will come a time when our present perception of death will seem as quaint and ignorant and old-fashioned as that. The spirit does not die when the body dies. Physical death is like taking off a suit of clothes. To the ego, reality is only what we can perceive physically, but many things that we know to exist cannot be seen with the naked eye. Neither atoms, nor protons, nor viruses, nor cells. Scientists are now beginning to recognize a oneness that lies beyond all perceived reality. This oneness is God, and our beginningness lies within it. Physical incarnation is a classroom experience, and souls come to the class to learn what they need to know. It's much like tuning into a channel on a television. Let's say we're all tuned to channel 4. When someone dies, they no longer are on channel 4, but that doesn't mean they're not broadcasting. They're now on channel 7 or 8. Cable systems exist regardless of whether or not we have the cable equipment with which to receive them. It is only the arrogance of the ego that will have us believe that what we can't physically perceive must not exist. Once the great rays are registered by our physical senses, the body will seem to be a mere shadow in front of our true selves. When we hear that someone has died, it will merely mean that a shadow has been removed. Death will no longer be perceived as the end of a relationship. When Jesus said that death shall be the last enemy, he meant that it shall be the last thing we perceive as an enemy. The problem is not really death, but what we think it is. We will all die. Some of us will take the 9:30 and some of us will take the 10:07, but we are all headed out. Accepting a healing of our thoughts about what that means is a cornerstone in our transformation from body to spirit orientation. Life is like a book that never ends. Chapters close, but not the book itself. The end of one physical incarnation is like the end of a chapter, on some level setting up the beginning of another. I once heard a friend say, "My relationship with my father has only improved since his death." A Course in Miracles says that communication does not stop with the destruction of the physical body. True communication rests on more than what is said or heard physically. When someone has died, we must speak with them differently than we did before. But in staying open to the possibility of an eternal life force, we direct our minds to develop the capacity for a transphysical conversation. Letter writing can help foster such communication. First, we write a letter to the person who has died, and then we write another letter back from them to us. What is the point of such exercises? They expand the mind to accept greater possibilities than the ego normally allows us to consider. People in my grief support groups have often told me that they had had a dream of someone who had died. When the dead person had showed up in the dreamer would say, "You can't be here, you're dead." At that point, the person would say, "Oh," and the dream would end. It had been denied permission to continue. Writing the letters or having any other kind of conversation or experience that broadens our openness to the possibility of life beyond death stretches our imposed mental boundaries. Our dreams and other emotional experiences then become freed from the bondage of our refusal to believe. Sometimes when someone has died, we say, "This isn't happening. It feels unreal. I feel like they're still here." That's because they are. Although the ego voice of the world will say, "It's just your imagination," the truth is that it is death itself that is just our imagination. The truth as God created it is that death does not exist, and deep in our hearts, we know that this is true.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing all of the great information today and being so vulnerable. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all you've done for Hush over the past
Oh,
couple of years. And I look
thank
forward
you.
to working with you again soon. And to all of our listeners, until next time, be well. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Take good care.
Bye, you too.
Thank you so much for listening to Hush Providence, a well-being podcast. This would not be possible without the incredible help from Jamie Farinella and Stephanie Whitehead on branding and logo concept, John Papa's endless generosity, David Davignon and Austin Lynch for their skilled technical expertise, and of course, our amazing guests and all of you, our listeners. Until next time, be well.